And in very exciting news, we will be doing a live taping of the Katie Halper Show on June 30th at Caveat in New York City. That's 21A Clinton Street. And our special guest will be none other than Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank, of course, is the author of Listen Liberal, or Whatever Happens to the Party of the People, and What's the Matter with Kansas. He writes for places like Harper's, The Guardian. Go to Caveat NYC to get tickets. See you on June 30th. So on Monday, May 14th, Donald Trump moved the embassy, the U.S. embassy, to Jerusalem. Can you talk about the significance of this?
Well, Trump fulfilled what a lot of politicians, including Democrats, have actually been supporting for a long time. I mean, this effort to move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem was passed by Congress under Bill Clinton. Now, since then, every president since has issued a waiver delaying it. But every president has also said that they favor it, that they see Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And even Obama, I believe, said he saw it as the undivided capital of Israel, which is crazy because, Jerusalem is incredibly significant for all religions. And for Palestinians in the West Bank, it's like the center of their economic, religious life. I mean, it's where the Al-Aqsa compound is, and it's incredible. So the whole point was to keep Jerusalem subject to final negotiations, which have been going on for years. And so Trump just went ahead and did what a lot of Democrats have said that they support, and he moved the U.S. embassy there. Many analysts say, and I agree with them, that this was done for domestic purposes. It caters to two key areas of support for Trump. Billionaires like Sheldon Adelson, hardcore far-right neocon Zionists, but also far-right hardcore Christian evangelicals, and you had even some of them speaking at the ceremony. Evangelicals support the Jerusalem decision for very different reasons than someone like Sheldon Adelson does, under their thinking that, Israel taking possession of Jerusalem is just a further step towards triggering end times.
Right, the rapture.
The rapture.
Where like a bunch of Jews, we all go back, and like 400 of us survive, and everyone else burns in eternal damnation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Those of us who have really accepted Jesus,
right,
and are really just like top notch candidates.
I like socialism, so I feel like I have accepted Jesus. So
yeah, this is who Trump is in league with. This is who he did it to please, and this is who Israel and its far right supporters are now in league with too. Anti-Semitic, extremist evangelicals. And meanwhile, you have during that ceremony. Meanwhile, in Gaza, you had thousands of people protesting for their rights, and Israel slaughtering them en masse.
You're saying Israel doesn't have the right to defend itself? That's, of course, a major talking point that people will use, suggesting that killing unarmed people is self-defense.
Well, you know what? The thing is, that statement is so flawed for many reasons, and not just because everyone there actually wasn't even threatening Israel. Right. They were all unarmed people saying that we have nothing like nothing to lose, and they were approaching the Israeli barriers and cutting some wires, which is not a threat to anybody. I mean, there was one Israeli soldier during this whole period who was lightly injured. I mean, it's a joke. But actually, the fact is that Israel doesn't have the right to use any force on Palestinians in Gaza anyway. They just don't. I mean, Palestinians are in Gaza and the West Bank are an occupied people, and it's something that we recognize pretty much anywhere else, except when we're the ones holding the guns. We recognize people's right to resist military occupation. I mean, it's just everyone recognizes that fact. I mean, if we were occupied by somebody, would we tell ourselves that the occupiers have the right to defend themselves against us if we resisted militarily? No. So Palestinians, and
they don't have a military.
And they don't have a military. Right. They have there are guns in Gaza, and there's some rockets that aren't very effective. Right. But the fact is that occupied people have every right to use force, and occupiers have no right to use force. They only have the obligation to end their occupation. So even the conversation around these Palestinians being unarmed and so there were no threat, even that is unfair to Palestinians.
Sure, but I mean, let's take the argument, because for better or for worse, most people don't even agree with the premise that you just presented. And I do agree with your premise, but what I find really scary is the idea that even if you don't think these people have the right to resist, like the idea that you have, or exist, but the idea that you have to use lethal force against people, it's not like Israel doesn't have a lot of jails. It's not like Israel doesn't have a lot of technology that they could use. It's not a self-defense issue. It's just not. And I can't believe that so many people are making it sound like they're just defending themselves. Like there isn't room between a response of not defending yourself and having snipers pick people off.
When you don't accept people as having basic human rights, which is sort of like the basis for 70 years of dispossession and then 50 years of occupation of Palestinians, then you can come up with all sorts of crazy rationalizations that that are just based on racism and seeing people as subhuman, which is the classic view that occupiers and people who are oppressing people have to take of those they're occupying.
Right. Or else how else can you justify or live with yourself? Yeah.
But the sad fact is that it's been totally mainstreamed, both in Israeli society, also in American society too. I mean, like look at the New York Times over the last week. It's just been article after article trying to at best. I mean, sometimes they'll let a Palestinian write an op-ed. But the majority of op-ed columnists are all about how it's the Palestinians' fault.
Right. It's all Hamas. It's all Hamas.
Hamas, everything is seen as this Hamas plot.
But they're really they have a lot of empathy at the New York Times for the Israeli side.
The pained Israeli, yes, yes. Well, there's a quote by former Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir.
We can forgive the Arabs for killing our children.
Exactly. We can forgive the Arabs for killing our children. We can never forgive them for
making us kill their children.
That to me it's the classic Israeli colonial mentality. It's like we are pained to be oppressors. Yeah. And it's their fault.
Yeah. Why are you making us? This hurts me more than it hurts you. Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. Again, you can find Aaron's writing at The Nation. You can find him at The Real News. You can find him on Twitter at Aaron J. Maté. Mm-hmm. Bye. Awesome.
Sweet. All right.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to talk about Schumer. And again, you're doing such great work on Russiagate, and I'm so honored to have someone who's been smeared as a Putin stooge, Putin apologist, by people who you don't want to be getting compliments from anyway. So
I'm honored as well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Bye, TYT. See you later. I'm Katie Halper. You can find The Katie Halper Show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure you join our Patreon at patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Bye.
Awesome. Sweet. All right.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to talk about Schumer.